Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We are live again, as always, either Saturday or Sunday. I am coming to you from Prague, reporting live. I'm standing in front of my computer. Side joke. Anyways, I wanted to talk to you about Dawah, and how to share Islam and the message of Islam with people who maybe haven't heard about it, or maybe even heard about it, but they don't really comprehend it, or they don't understand the full meaning and the reality and the weight of the message. So it's really crucial that we discuss this issue because I'm struggling with this myself, of course. So hopefully we'll get some good ideas going on, guys, and feel free to call me up if you want. If you are brave enough, let me again share the link. I've tried twice this call in live stream and I always had great discussion. So I'm gonna highlight this a link and you guys can call me up. Before that, let me give you some foundation, something that happened. So this week was pretty good and pretty bad as well, but Alhamdulillah. Yesterday, I've discovered a new mosque in Prague. It's very secret. I shouldn't really talk about it, but it's the most beautiful place. And I went with my friend Ayman. Shout out. We went there and filmed a few things, but unfortunately, they are not really. The owners don't really want to be on camera in terms of the place and the location, but it's really awesome, and I was very surprised by that. We had great discussion, and I feel the spirit of Islam, the Ummah. It was amazing. Other than that, yeah, my deen is really like not deen. My iman is really uh, growing. I really enjoy it now. So I don't know what's happening, but I really feel good. I've read like 15 pages of some books. I'm learning Arabic, as you can see behind me. This week I've mastered the alphabet and I know how to pronounce everything. So you can give me some tests. For example, al, alif, ba, the, uh, Jim, ha, ha, uh, and stuff like that. So, anyways, don't want to bore you with my personal life. And I am also releasing a new series or a new video type of things where I'm gonna be debunking some of the self-development gurus who are online talking about meaning of life and stuff like that, but they just want to make money off you. So yeah, there's gonna be a new video coming next week. Also, I'm gonna have quite a lot of interviews coming up, and funny enough, one will be with Aisha Rosali. I'm sure you know her from YouTube. I'm actually appearing on her channel, so I might reuse that. Then there's gonna be Luke, who's a Christian Unitarian, talking to me, which is gonna be very interesting. Um, Also, I have some Dawah plans in the park, stuff like that. But those will kind of wait for a sec because I was traveling and stuff, and I need to. I'm leaving for 5 days into the forest to unplug from reality for a while because I've been in the city for some time and I just want to go to the forest again. So we'll see. Anyways, thank you guys for joining. Let me check some responses. I already see someone is joining to have a chat. Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, Ihsan. Salam, Phil. I see you joined. So let's have some talk. Salam alaikum, Yan. All right. So let's talk about Dawah, but let's see what happens. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about something completely different. But maybe before I let Phil in or somebody else, I want to give a context. So basically, it's very difficult to share the message of Islam because you can't just say it. You can't just say, okay, here's what's going to happen. You ready? Okay. When you die, there's going to be this period of time where two angels will appear. And you start explaining everything. Then there's this day of judgment. Then there's this tremendous day where every deed you did will be put on public, and then you will be judged. And if you're lucky and you get the mercy of Allah, you go to Jannah, and then that. And you just throw that at them. It's kind of overwhelming. It's not possible to even comprehend. So How do we share the message of Islam? The good thing is I have a case study of myself because I was the one who was getting that message for 2 years, trying to comprehend what people are saying, because one sheikh said that, the other one said that. It wasn't clear, like, what? One thing I remember that wasn't clear, like, well, after you die, the angels appear and they just ask you, what was your religion? Who was the prophet? Who's your Rab? Who's your Lord? And it's easy. It's Allah, it's Islam, and the prophet is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What's the big deal? But the thing is, the the connection between your mind and your heart will be cut. So the only thing you will have is your heart. So your heart will speak from what you actually believe. You will not be able to trick or change or lie. All these things are, I had to figure out later, right? And then I had questions like, what if Jannah is going to be boring, right? And stuff like that. So anyways, it's a big topic. Let's have a talk. I have like 40-50 minutes. Effective dawah is fitra. Yes, it is. And now I would like to say, like, I'm in such a position where I see it clearly that Islam has all the solutions, especially with, in terms of also judiciary system, looking at this Breivik guy killing people and how he's not getting justice. And then the whole movement in my country, there was a movie now released called Lost Daughter, where they kind of attack the motherhood and also just promote the idea that the mother should leave her kids. And she just spent like 3 years in the US while she left her two kids with her husband at home and just like didn't care about them because she wanted to pursue her career, and she actually was cheating on her husband. And the movie was about her, how many struggles she had. I'm not saying it's not difficult, but come on, like, what are we doing? And the first comments I remember on the Facebook post about this movie was like, hey, well, uh, this is such a taboo subject. Like, when I asked one guy who's like Muslim in this country that is not doing that well, like, why is it patriarchal? Why is patriarchy not going away? He said, it's Allah. And everybody was like, oh, this is such a stupid guy. I wanted to say like, oh, thank God. But if I say this, it's unlimited amount of comments targeting me. So I just said like, no. Anyways, let's fill in. Let 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 Salam alaikum, brother. Yes, it may seem difficult to give dawah, especially without support from the sentence. Yes, so let me add you, Phil. Hopefully you get some question. What's up? Salam alaikum, Phil.
Walaikum salam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Dawah is very interesting for me because, like yourself, I've made that same journey from Christianity through to atheism through to Islam, and I often think what changed my opinion wasn't just anybody sort of coming up into the street and saying, as you talked about, angels and stuff like that, which would have been for me just so esoteric and beyond sort of any of my experiences. But the way I approached, like, I was having a bit of a midlife crisis. I was not very happy at the end of 2020. I bought a new car. I bought all sorts of stuff. Nothing was working. The dunya seemed to me to have so little allure, and relationships weren't working. And so, to be honest, I was in a very dark place, and as I say, nothing seemed to be working. But also, I mean, I now believe in the fitra, and that. But and what I didn't realize at the time was this craving I had for God, and for a kind of certainty, because the bleakness of of atheism is in the total extinguishment of your personality and your life at death, and everything that you ever meant to anybody just ends, and that was particular. And it happened at the same time as a very close relative of mine died very suddenly and unexpectedly. And it kind of, it forces you to confront the really big questions in life. And one of, so at the same time I was looking at cosmology, the Big Bang, and when I was actually looking at things like the logic of causality, for example, and the thing that completely floored me was that in the laws of physics that show that if any of the fundamental forces or entropy or density that had been out to any degree within the Big Bang, when the Big Bang happened, then our universe as it consists today could never have existed. Suns would never have existed. Therefore, planets would never have existed. Therefore, carbon-based life forms like ourselves would never have existed. And the tolerances for these things to have occurred are just microscopically small. So that confronts me, and I think you had something similar. That when you look at it, you just think, well, how could this have just emerged from this infinite, this singularity, this infinite point of infinite density and infinite heat, and produce life forms like ourselves that have a morality, a morality that's not just beyond feeding oneself or propagating our own species. And when I went to bed that night thinking, well, I always looked for rationality and a rational belief, and I thought believing in God was just giving up on the first page. But I went to bed that night thinking, there is a God. There is a rational case for a God. In fact, it's more rational than not, because all the scientists that the atheist scientists can come up with to explain this these incredible sort of accidents is that, well, there's multiverses, and stuff like this, which just seem to me far more illogical and far less satisfactory an answer than a creator. So I went to bed that night thinking, I've got to rethink my way of life. And then, having thought that, I thought, well, if there is a creator, then he must have communicated to us in some way. And by the way, I hope this isn't a monologue. Please.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's good to talk to you for after a few months, because I've seen we've exchanged comments and stuff. So it's finally good to hear you live.
Yeah. Well, you may have wondered how I sounded, but yeah. So, and then I look. Well, none of
Maybe
the
one thing. I'll jump in to follow up on what you said. I think it's crucial for people to tie everything we do in Dawah to Allah, or basically God, because
absolutely, and that's what I was. That's what I'm coming to, actually. That I think first you make, because people like to think they think scientifically. A lot of people, the rational side of human beings. And when you look at Slovakia or the Czech Republic, and the collapse in belief, and I think people just assume, well, science has the answer to everything, and it has. I'm not in any way denigrating science, far from it, but I think the ultimate question it can't answer, and it can't get past all the science, all the physics, all the mathematics breaks down when you're confronted by singularity, whether that's at the center of a black hole or the singularity that started the Big Bang. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I was actually confronted by the thought that I've got to start believing in a God and a creator. And then where would you, where do I go after that? Well, I thought, well,
Yeah, I think so. Right now, in this stage, especially if once you maybe realize there might be rational reason to
mm,
believe in God, or like it's more probable than not. This was
yeah,
me also stuck in this phase. Like, all
yeah,
right, so let me just think through this. Like, is it possible? Like you're talking about the fine tuning of the mass in the universe, different
yes.
protons and stuff
But I
like
think
that.
that's where
Yeah.
you've got to start. I think that to do Dawah, I think that's where you've got to start, because all of a sudden you're presenting people with hard scientific data, hard scientific facts, which they may or may not have looked at to any degree. So you can come across as, wholly rational, wholly scientific. And
Yeah, I mean, there's only few explanations, so you really have to think through only maybe five options. First, maybe universe came from nothing. Okay, that's one option. The other one, there's multiverses. The
yeah,
other one, universe always existed. The
yeah,
fourth one, it's cyclical. It kind of expands, collapses forever. The
yeah,
fifth one, it was created by something uncreated. Sixth
yeah,
one, maybe it was created by something created. Okay, so you go through this process. This
yeah,
is the same process you apply throughout anything else to eliminate all the other options.
yeah.
Similarly to once you figure out that okay, there is a God now, when you look at all the religions, this is the same
Well,
process you go through.
this is where
Yeah.
I'm going to next. So when you look at the religions, well, none of the polytheistic religions appeal to me, because I thought that there didn't seem to be any logic to have multiple gods any more than it was logical to think there were multiple universes.
Well, they don't really provide you with the question to what is the purpose of life at all,
Yeah,
in terms of like something specific. Like, for example, if you take Buddhism or something,
yeah.
it's
Well,
maybe to
there's no God
transcend
in you.
your own ego. But like, what does that mean actually?
There's
Like,
no
tell me.
God in you. There's not necessarily a God in Buddhism anyway, I believe.
But the thing is, Buddhism doesn't explain the beginning of universe still. So
Yes.
like, it doesn't
Yeah.
help me at all to live a good
Yeah.
life and be Buddhist if I don't
Yes.
know the answers still. So
True. Yeah. So thinking, well, Hinduism, Buddhism, none of those, really meant anything to, or I couldn't get my head round that, the
mm,
idea of multiple gods or no God or whatever. And as you say, no real sort of what you would call a a way of living, a teaching of a way of life. And then,
well, I would maybe add one thing. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt, but I
not
think
a
it's good
problem.
if we go like back and forth, so so I don't forget what I want to say.
Mhm.
But so especially in this phase, I was stuck for 1 year. So I was stuck here because I
Yes,
didn't want to
yeah,
believe in organized religion. I thought it's like,
me too.
well, I come from Catholic Church, so I know how
Yeah,
corrupted it is. How
me,
can it
me,
be?
me
You
too.
know,
Me too. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
it's kind of difficult to figure out, well, is there any religion that could be organized but also based on the truth? Like, I don't think
mhm,
that's possible. So, and I
yeah.
just kind of created my own religion. So I just prayed like how I
Well,
wanted to pray. I
you could
I did
become
my
a
own thing.
deist. You could become a deist, and under that,
Mm.
under the approach of saying, well, there must be a God, but I don't like any of the religions. Then you could become a deist, which just says,
Yeah.
yeah, that there is a creator. Not too sure how or what I should be doing in this life and what my relationship is with them, but I do believe in a creator. And
Mm.
you could believe in the so-called golden rule that Jesus, peace be upon him, came up with, but actually predates Christianity by several millennia, of do unto others what you would have them do to you. That's one of them, I suppose.
Mm.
So you could. So after that, I looked at, I thought, well, I looked at Judaism. Well, that's a that doesn't believe in proselytizing. But he believes you're only Jewish if your mother was Jewish or your grandmother was Jewish, and therefore, that sort of approach.
Mm.
So, I couldn't see Judaism being. I mean, yeah, they do accept converts, but they're not on the streets. They're not sort of promulgating the idea. And Christianity. When I looked at Christianity, it blew itself to pieces, sort of, with the
Mm.
Nicene Creed. That this in fact only happened 200 or 300 years after Jesus, peace be upon him, was on the earth. That Jesus all of a sudden became this God or part of God, and um,
There's
this,
actually no mention in the Bible
no,
of
no, and
Trinity, not Trinity, but not even like being co-equal.
yeah,
Like in a
yeah,
sense, those three things are co-equal. This is all like
yeah,
artificially made up.
yeah.
So yeah.
And it to be honest, when I thought about it, I thought, well, this was why. Um, I think the reason why was that Constantine, the Roman emperor, became Christian. And if you remember, in the old days, maybe 200 years before that, all the great Roman emperors were deified. Augustus and Caligula and Tiberius, they all became deified on their death. So this was something that was very much part and parcel of the Roman Empire. And the thought of this teacher, this great teacher that came with, you know, um, uh, the great teachings, um, wasn't in some way divine.
Mm.
Was anathema to the Romans. So I think that was as much. I think you can blame Rome, the Roman Empire, and Constantine for that. And so I thought, well, that's not right. That's completely and utterly illogical. It's not correct. It can't be correct.
Did you
It's
watch in that time some Christian channels, just apologetics, where they try to
well, still,
explain things?
I still do from time to
Yeah,
time. Um,
you didn't
if
find the answer,
only
or
to know the enemy, if only to sort of, yeah. And there's some incredibly intelligent people.
yeah.
So utter nonsense, utter, yeah, irrational nonsense about this, and they don't look, but they don't look beyond Christianity. So that, so that, so the next day, I was going through. Well, it's not Judaism, although Judaism has many, and they're still waiting for the Messiah, and
Mm.
you know, and it's very much based on your birth and who your mother was. Christianity was no use because it didn't even, to me, it claimed to be monotheistic, but it wasn't. Clearly, it wasn't. Um, so what did that leave? And there
So how
was
did
this,
you look into Islam? Like, did you bump into someone on the
no,
street or
no.
whatever?
What happened was well, I've there are there's a story behind this, which I'm not going to go into. I mean, if you want me, we could talk privately about it, but I wouldn't want to talk
Hmm.
about online. So, but the what struck me the next day, there were two things. Um, I was at home because of COVID, and during my lunch hour, I'd have a look at YouTube, and I saw this Dawah is easy, this video, and basically there was this Italian guy walking down Kilburn High Street, somewhere I know quite well in London,
Hmm.
And within 40 minutes, this guy convinced him that Islam was the truth, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last and greatest messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there wasn't a thing I could disagree with that this guy had said. And I thought, and then there was this feeling of, well, I've got to become a Muslim. And that frightened me, you know?
Yeah.
And because, it's such a change. It's such a change in my outlook, in my belief. And then, but within an hour, I was having a look at YouTube, and I was actually looking for loft conversions, and conversion came up, and YouTube put a lot
Mm-hmm.
of Islamic stuff because I don't actually. But there was this call to prayer, this live from Mecca, and I just clicked it
Mm-hmm.
on, and I did not understand a word the Sudan was saying, but it had the most profound. It just seemed to talk straight past my rational soul, straight to my soul, and I was shaking at the end of it, and I thought that is my call to prayer. That is my call to Islam.
Yeah,
And
maybe I'll jump in quickly here because
mm,
everybody has slightly different views on this. So, for example, when I've
yeah,
heard the adhan, it did nothing to me, to be honest. When I
yes,
first
I
heard
know
it,
it's,
yeah.
but it's. I think it's. You're right. It's. I think it's like maybe it's like falling in love. There are a
Mm,
million different stories
yeah.
associated with it, but
The one thing you've mentioned, so
mm,
about this Italian guy doing
yeah,
Dawah and explaining everything and everything kind of making sense. And
yeah,
so that's true because, so especially at this stage, I know Islam is true 100%. And I know the truth
yeah,
can stand on its own. I don't have to even defend it. It's
yeah,
people can just research every single thing they want and they'll just find the answers. But the thing is, uh, I can, like, for example, I know people in my life
yeah,
who who I can explain everything in Islam too, and they still won't accept it. And it's not
yes.
like they are against it; they just don't want to accept it. And but
And
they
I
are not.
think,
They are like, yeah, it makes sense, but they don't want to become a Muslim.
well,
So you
yeah, I
can't,
think,
you
but
know,
you
yeah,
were in that situation as well, weren't you? You
right,
didn't, you went through that year where you were actually praying. You were actually doing what we we do now. You were doing the salah.
but
Uh,
they are not even. They don't even go to that level. They don't even
yeah,
wanna like they go through the journey. Yes, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the right prophet.
yeah.
Yes, there's only
They
one
really
God.
say
Yes,
that, yeah.
Quran. Yeah, it's all making sense, but okay, so what? So nothing. So it's
So
like
what? So
there's
what's that?
many people like this.
What's their argument? Is it an
There's no
argument?
argument. They
This is
just
too. This is just too difficult for us, or
yeah,
too
that's too difficult.
alien, or
Like my boss, I was actually on Friday. I was with my boss, and I
Mhm.
told him like I need to pray, like in a hotel room. We were on a company trip in
Yeah,
like other city,
yeah,
and he said like you can use my hotel room.
hmm
Here are keys, and then we went up, and he said like you have to do this 5 times a day. Man, this is so difficult. Like I would never be able to do this. And I'm like, well, you don't really. It's not like there's many things in Islam that look maybe from the outside like, oh, this is so difficult, but like
hmm
actually I don't have any issues with this. Like I this is
Well,
something I
how
look
long does
forward
it
to.
last? It's 5 minutes a time. You
Yeah,
know.
but it's crunching on your freedom. They have this outlook on life, which is weird.
Yeah,
But I wanted to highlight one more thing about this. So
yeah,
in terms of Islam, for me, the biggest problem was, sorry, excuse me, the biggest problem was Islam is the only path to paradise, right?
mm, yeah,
How can this be? Let's say I'm a good person and I
mm,
give in charity and I'm a Christian or I'm a Hindu or I'm atheist,
yeah,
whatever. Why is Islam? Like I couldn't wrap my head around this. Like, what is this? What about people who didn't hear about Islam or all these things, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
now, like, I completely get that. Now I completely get that, and it took me a while.
hmm
I think only with Islam and only with practicing Islam and Sunnah and everything, you can actually develop good moral character. It is impossible to do this in Christianity. It is impossible to do this in atheism or
What,
any other system.
yeah,
Yes,
and
you can give charity and be nice, but
yeah,
on
yeah.
another level, you can never do it like in Islam. And
What,
you do it for Allah. You don't
yeah,
do it for yourself. So that's the
yeah.
biggest difference. Yeah. And so that's maybe there could be cases where people can go to Jannah through some other ways, only Allah knows, but the most secure is like Islam. For me, it's just looking at the Muslim way
Well,
of
to
life,
me,
it makes
it's
sense.
yeah. To me, I've felt this peace, this sense of purpose, um, and which I didn't have before. And uh, and I prayed like a Christian when I was a child, but
Yeah.
nothing prepared me for the first time I did the sujood. And um, and I didn't need a priest or a bishop or anybody else. I didn't need them.
Mm.
There was nothing
Yeah.
that, there's nothing between you and the creator.
Yeah, you can
Um,
make dua anytime you want. You don't have to have wudu on. You can just
yeah,
make dua right now.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
And it was just, and I felt, I mean, I had a few doubt, I
Mm.
remember sort of a couple of weeks, I was really into it. And I was doing the Maghrib prayer, and I just had this thought. My face was wet, my hands were wet, my hair was wet, my feet were wet. Um, my I had my head head on the ground, my backside was in the air. I
Mm.
was I was a bit itchy because I had to do manscaping for the first time in my life, and I thought, well, this better be right.
Yeah.
uh, but no, it now seems so obvious now. It just seems so obvious to me now, and I think it just needs that. And I think if you go into Dawah by using science and um, in cosmology to actually just frame the beginning and say, well, look, this isn't antithetical to belief. Far from it.
Mm.
The things we know and the things we don't know actually point you to a creator outside of time and space.
The
And
problem is, yeah, how do you transfer? Now you say
mm,
you see it obvious. Me as well. Like anytime I look in the society, I see problem. I just see Islam as solution. Like we had a workshop in the work about like gambling, alcohol, cigarettes.
well,
I'm like,
isn't
oh,
it? I
this
was
is prohibited.
just
Like I
about
don't have to deal.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. What other faith bans gambling, bans alcohol? Two of the worst evils
Yeah,
that currently afflict our society. The number of people who die through alcohol uh, abuse, the number of children that are abused, the number of wives that are abused because of alcohol abuse. As somebody said, if alcohol had been invented, last month, it would be on the banned list of drugs.
yeah.
It's a depressant, and so there's that. Gambling, as well, is haram. And what's the worst meat you could possibly eat? Is pork. Scientifically, it's the worst meat you can. It's the fattiest. It's got the, it's if you, it's the worst
Mm.
possible meat you can eat for your health. And what other um, major faith bans those three things?
Yeah, well,
Islam?
there's more. There's even anything. Even cigarettes are not specifically banned, but they
I
are
know.
haram. Like no way
Yeah,
around
well,
this.
yeah, you get a few Muslims sort of puffing away on their. And you
I mean
see these
they
huge pipes,
yeah,
these.
they do this, but it's not allowed to be honest. And the thing is, like, I tried quitting alcohol for maybe 15 years. I couldn't stop. Like maybe I stopped for 3 4 days to drink,
Yes,
but
yeah.
I could. I always came back. I always came back. I couldn't stop it. Only
Was
with
it? Was
Islam.
it? Was
It's
it
been a
a?
year now. So
Was
yeah.
it? Was it a? Did you drink heavily or was it controlled drinking, or was it something that got out of hand?
Yeah, it kind of got out of hand. I think I could never drink normally, so I could never have like a beer or two.
You had to
Uh,
have right. Yeah, that is a
I
problem.
usually had there was a time where I was drinking like 8 beers a day. That's crazy.
That is
Uh,
crazy. Yeah,
and then it's like you're not enjoying your day. You're kind of like going back to being hangover at night, so you're always like drunk.
but
Then
isn't that
always
the,
buying cigarettes, and it's just
yeah?
then smoke, and all just coming together like
Mhm.
completely opposite lifestyle you should be actually living, you know.
And
So the
was
thing
there
is like,
something in your life that was um,
mm,
was promoting this behavior? Were you
everyone
feeling?
like look at the company, there's a team building, right? And
Yeah,
so all of us get like bottles of vodka or whatever,
yeah,
and the boss drinks, everyone drinks, everyone. I'm the only one in 80 people company who doesn't drink.
yeah,
So how can you not look, you know, I have Islam now, but if I didn't have Islam, and let's say
mm,
I just want to quit drinking and I'm just an atheist, it's impossible because the social pressure is too much. But now, you know, that doesn't affect me that much. But if I didn't have Islam and Allah, like, I don't think I would be able to stop drinking or stop smoking or doing these haram things. It's too much, because I only rely on Allah now. Everything I do, you know, it's, I don't rely on anyone. So that's such a freeing thing. It's the most freeing thing you can do, you know, to stop being the slave of all these things in this world that are deteriorating your health or whatever they're causing, you know. So it's just the best lifestyle you can live to be a Muslim. It's the most healthiest as well, you know. There is no healthier lifestyle, I think. So yeah, sorry Phil, can you, oh, I guess you dropped out. So let me just read some of the comments, guys, while we had a chat with Phil. Assalamu alaikum, Yan. Been following your channel for a while now. I think you're doing a great job. Stay humble. Jazakallah. Recommend Hamzat sources. Yes, I've seen his seminars. Assalamu alaikum from Bangladesh. Wa alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. They literally have to resort to denying first principles in order to try and justify their atheism. Thing is, they don't really think that much about the atheism. Assalamu alaikum, Yan. Can you share your first experience? Yes, later. I see Phil joined back. Sorry, Phil, are you back?
yeah. Sorry, I lost my connection there.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
I was
So what you're
one thing.
saying?
Yeah, well, we talked about the alcohol and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to say about the logic,
Hmm.
which is also very important, is that once you basically you can get as maybe with your rational mind as far as to understand that there is a creator,
Hmm.
but beyond that point, your logic kind of crumbles. You know, it's impossible to understand the wisdom. It's impossible to get the revelation through just your mind. Like, you need this Quran, because
Yes.
you would never be like, you can use your logic how you want. Tell me what happens when you die. How are you going to answer that? It's impossible without Allah actually telling that to you in the Quran. Or how were you created?
Yeah.
You know, those things are unknown. In billions of years you can live, you will never find that. So those are the unseen things, and we need the revelation. So from that point, I think things that seem illogical, maybe like, why is riba haram, or why should I do this, or, you know,
Mhm.
maybe these sunnah things, it's
Yeah.
all, just give up at that point. Like, that's the submission, right?
Well,
That's
yeah,
the thing.
you're right, because that is the one thing a lot of people, especially with a individualistic mindset, um, that that people have in the West. That well,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to adhere to any rules except what suits me on any particular day. And I was like that. Not that I was in any immoral. Um, I
Mm.
didn't act immorally. I mean, I was married for a long, long time. I wasn't, didn't play, didn't didn't
Yeah.
seek any other women when I was married. Um, and I love my children, and so I mean, I thought that there was a a natural sense of right and wrong, you know, that
True.
and I was interested, you did a video, you know, well, what stops you having, you know, all sorts of disgraceful behavior if you don't have God in your life, or you don't have Islam in your life, or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of shied away from it because I thought, well, you know, when I was an atheist, I didn't want to do anything that that felt immoral. I mean, I had a sense. I suppose it may have been my Christian upbringing, but I did have a sense of that stealing was wrong.
Yeah, that's your fitra.
But
Yeah, it's in
but
everyone.
but I could, yeah, that it's that innocent, you know, that fitra. You're right. So you have that, and it's God given.
Yeah,
Um, and
that's
it's
true.
and
It can be
it's
clouded though. Like if you do too
mm,
much sins, you forget what was good at some point. So
you do, and I think once you get into that process of sinning, that it's once it's like anything else. It's like your first drink or whatever. You just want that extra one. You want another one. You want another one on top of that.
yeah,
Um, and nothing tastes as good as the first one. Nothing, nothing, nothing is better than you. And that's the thing about our quest for material thing. I think it's a good thing that we have. I mean, I like the society we've got in terms of what it can provide me. I'm
hmm,
well off. I can buy a new car if I wanted to. I can. If my daughter rings up and says, "Oh, I need a few grand here, a few grand there," I can say, "Yeah, I've got the money." Yeah, so I've that independence, but it's never enough. It was not enough. It was not enough for you, and that's why I was really interested in that your particular journey. I just happened to to come in contact with your site, and everything you were saying,
yeah.
everything you were going through, everything you'd gone before to make you unhappy, was absolutely things that struck a complete chord with me.
Yeah. Do you have any question maybe that you wanted to ask me about anything with regards to this? That
Across
you
the Dawah
or
or
anything
anything.
you want, like whatever. If not, then
Do
it's
you
okay. I'm just wondering.
no? Well, I suppose that the how have you? I haven't discussed this with my family, except my children know, and my ex-wife knows, but um, the rest of my family hasn't. And I'm always concerned about whispers. He's going through his midlife crisis or something, or he's gone off
Mhm.
his rocker. That's and I found that because I think like a lot of people, you want to conform in a way to the prevailing moods, the prevailing sort of fashions, if you like. And religion isn't one of them. Religion is regarded with great. I mean, England, I think, is the same as the Czech Republic in terms of atheism.
Yeah.
But you haven't. You've put yourself out there, and I've got to say that really, um, I find that incredibly attractive part of you. That in fact you have that moral courage. You say you want to pray, and I know I think you've contacted Mark. Saint
Yeah.
Peter. He was telling me, and he had to pray in a stairwell at work where people were walking out,
Mhm.
on lunch hours. So there's a lot of people, and I was just full of admiration for. So what gives you that? Because I wanted that moral fiber to say to get up and be counted.
I'm not sure I'm the right person for that, but to
Well,
maybe
you've done
give you
it.
like
You've done it. You've put yourself. You're standing in front of the Chinese embassy, You're putting
Oh
yourself
yeah,
out there. Yes, you've told your family, you've told your
right.
mates. So yeah,
Maybe yeah. What is like the big thing I
mm,
always had in the back of my mind before I even became Muslim was
mm,
it's very simple. We all live in this earth, in this blue ball, and you can believe whatever you want, but we can all agree we live in this ball and that's floating around the space. And so I believe I have the truth and the answers to what does it all mean. And if you
mhm.
want to challenge that, that's okay. But if you and so basically, I know for a fact that no one has the answers. There is no one who has the answers to this. Even if they are politician, the CEO, Queen Elizabeth, I don't care who they are. If they are not, let's say, really
God
involved
bless them. Mm,
in religion, yeah, they basically they might have some idea of how to run
mm,
economy or whatever, but above
mm.
that, everyone's lost. Everyone has
Yeah.
no idea where their life is. Everyone feels like
Can I
sometimes
can I just
out of
say
control. Yeah.
can I just say I love that that booklet you provided
Oh, really?
about,
Nice.
and I just thought the opening, you're on a plane, you don't know. I mean, it was so um, cinematic. We're stuck on a plane. How did we get there? How did you get there? You don't know when you got on, or. And I just thought that was such a great metaphor for, really imaginative metaphor for where we are. Where we are. We
Well,
are
people
lost.
don't want to ask those questions, right? So
Do you
you
think so?
need to kind of,
I think a lot of people do, but I think they're too
but they stop quickly.
frightened.
They stop at the first question, like, okay, I don't know, so that's it. No, okay, you don't know, but there is a way to get there. Let me
Mm,
just take you for a ride. It's like
yeah.
Matrix. Like, I'm gonna show you the truth. The
Hmm.
truth is maybe not what you want, but it is the
Yes.
truth. So you will
Yeah.
have to change everything. But do you want it? If you don't want it, then take the red
I'll,
pill and go somewhere
right.
else.
I'll give
You
you
know.
another. Yeah. I'll sort. Yeah. That's right.
Because there's responsibility, there's accountability that you will
Hmm.
be having now, and you can't forget about it. Like, if you want to live in this ignorant lifestyle and delusion, and but you will have this meaninglessness and nihilism, then do that. I live that. I know uh, it's
Yes.
pros and cons, but if you want the answers, and I was seeking the answers, then I'm sorry, bro, but you will have to change many things in your life, and it's not pleasant,
Mm.
but that's what it is. If you want the some foundation in your life. So, well,
Mm.
one quick point on what you said. So essentially, no one in this earth knows what's going on. At some level, they do, but it stops.
Yeah.
So it's simple. Like, your family, your friends, no one really knows. So maybe it's a shock, but actually, it's pretty easy to defend whatever position you have. And I know the other side doesn't know nothing. They know much less than me, actually. So if
Yeah.
I want to debate them, it's quite simple.
Hmm.
So my family or everyone, I never had any issues. And um yeah, if some people just say I'm crazy, that's fine. Like, you can say that. Like, we still live in this. You still live here, you're still gonna die, no one will remember you. So I don't care if you say this, because
Yeah.
it's just
It
whatever.
is. The one thing you can't, and I think one of the things that I think, if you're in a group and there's a lot of chat and a lot of
Yeah.
that's very difficult to get any kind of profound point across.
Well,
Uh,
I never share I'm a Muslim. Like, let's say I
yeah,
had like a party. We had a team building something, and there was like 5 people,
yeah,
and we talked about. They said something about Christianity, how backward it is, and I
yeah,
said like, well, let's talk about incest, for example. And so I threw at them like, okay, is it wrong to have sex with your mom? And then he said like, of course. And then I was like, why? You're just increasing your pleasure, right?
yeah,
Like, what's wrong about it? If it's consensual, then there's
hmm,
nothing wrong about it on the
yeah,
principle of increasing your pleasure. So
hmm,
what do you feel inside of you? Do you feel this like, this is wrong? What is that? Tell me.
yeah,
And so and then everybody kind of formed, and we had this discussion. I never said I'm a
mhm,
Muslim, but we had this a lot of moral examples I was throwing at him. And I just told him like, well, your morality is, you see, your morality is consequential. So you're going all with your sort of this, you have this mindset that was implanted
yeah,
in you, but there's
yeah,
this other side of morality that comes from your soul, something
Yes.
that's like
Yeah.
fitra, which I didn't say it is fitra, but
Yes.
something that's built within us.
Yeah.
Intuitive morality, we all have it, and if you cloud this, then you're gonna have
You
this
you
problem
see,
with these.
but you see it in children, don't you? You see if if you see in kindergarten, if one child hogs one of the toys or whatever, there's an incent, there's a um, there's a feeling goes around the group that that child isn't behaving properly, because they're
Mm,
not sharing. There's something which says in a child there's got to be fairness, and that's one thing that you'll find
justice,
out.
yeah, yeah, like
You'll
I
find
think,
out when you have your first child, and
yeah,
inshallah it will happen, because it is the most it was the most transformative um, uh, and most impactful thing that's ever happened to me up
yeah,
until I accepted Islam.
yeah,
That
I'll see about it.
you handed your child for the first time, and I hated children up to then. I couldn't see any need for them. They were dirty, they were noisy and
Mm,
unnecessary, I thought.
yeah,
I just didn't understand them. But children have that really intense relationship with fairness, and that I think is, and you can always tell if a child isn't part of
yeah,
that.
yeah, especially if you have more kids, so that one gets like a candy, the other doesn't. Like,
Yeah,
why does it act like it recognizes it's unfair? Like,
yeah, yeah.
what
It
is
does.
this? Like,
It does. But the other thing I would say to anybody who's listening to this video, that the one thing that, and something that you should always mention, I think, in Dawah, is that when you become a Muslim, you cannot, I cannot tell you just how many friends, brothers I have now, from around the world, who we talk on a regular basis, and we have the most incredible. Sometimes I'm on for 4 hours, just talking about our lives and faith, not just Islam, but
mhm,
And I remember I've got a few friends still from university, who I keep in touch with, who aren't Muslim, and there just seemed to be this level of conversation that we never attained when I was talking to the non-Muslims. And it was very odd that everything seemed curtailed. Everything seemed, it was all the dunya,
yeah,
and I'd had enough of it. I'd had enough of its, what it told me to be should be sufficient for me, and it did nothing for my soul.
yeah. That's a good point. There's this barrier now. I feel it when I talk to my friends from uni as well. Like,
Yeah.
are really good friends, and
Yes, I know.
but we met, and I was all the things we were talking about were like money or house he's buying,
Yes.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's nice, but I'm a Muslim. He knows, but he never asked me like
Yeah.
why, or and
That
I
that
don't want to
is.
say that,
um,
right? But like,
Yeah.
come on, like let's. And there's so many of these friends I have, and we just have this surface level, and then I have
Mm,
few Muslim friends who are not like my lifelong friends, but we immediately, like yesterday, we went with a car with one of my friends here from Algeria.
mm,
The first question I asked him, "How's your deen? How's your
mm.
relationship with Allah?" And
Yeah.
he said, Alhamdulillah, like everything's good, I'm praying. I'm like, that's great, that's all I need to hear. This is what Sahabas did as well. Like they asked everybody, like, how's your deen first? Like
Yeah.
how's that going? Because anything else that follows, that's fine. Like but that's the first question, and
And it,
so
it, it but
you
it
never
binds
ask this, anyone
it
else.
binds you together, doesn't it? And I've had really, I, I feel that I've known these people for years. I mean, I went to a Muslim
Mm,
center in the city, and there's this Afghan um, there who introduced himself, and we
mm,
just sat down and we talked, and we talked, and we talked about everything, and it was 4 hours later, and I was still talking to this guy I just met,
yeah.
and you just do not get that it wouldn't happen. I mean, if I started talking to a total stranger, I think I was mad, you know. So there's
Mm,
that the dunya, the not the dunya, sorry, the ummah is something that you will find in an incredible um, an experience, and you'll find, and that's what, you know. Talking to you, I've been talking to you for nearly an hour now, which is far too long. Um, but you know, we have a level of we've never talked before. Not well, not we've
yeah,
emailed each other, um, but uh, we've never actually talked before. But these are the conversations. They're so easy. You know, I find that they're so the conversations with fellow Muslims just have a, a different level of meaning, and
yeah,
I think you were seeking meaning, I was seeking meaning in what appeared to be, you know, a meaningless universe, a universe that we're only here, you know, out brief candle. We're only here for a blink of an eye, and
yeah,
uh, and the other thing is, you know, you see the billionaires. You know, I remember you did a really good one. What's the point of this going off into space like Elon Musk or Jeff
yeah.
Bezos? You know? And one wishes they were still up there. You know, they never came back down. And it's there's an absurdity about that type of wealth.
Yeah,
And
imagine
that's
if those guys knew that, well, actually, like, let's say they have this mindset of discovering, actually, it's within yourself you should be discovering.
yeah,
Imagine they just switch that up. How great would could how great value could they add to Muslims if they spend,
yeah.
let's say, on mosques or something, but they think it's externally, such a mess. Like, what? It's all within you. The answers are already there, but it's just
And
unlocked.
but
You know.
these guys don't seem to put a mirror up to themselves, or they're
Yeah.
so surrounded by flunkies and people who, you know, um, tell them they're wonderful all the time.
Yeah,
And
I remember.
you know,
So,
yeah,
oh, just one thing. My mom actually asked me today. We usually don't talk like very deeply about
yeah,
stuff, but she asked me like, so 2 years ago you were really like depressed, kind of like had like crisis stuff, and so how you feel now? I'm like, I'm very good, like no problems. And she said like, so did Islam help you? Like, and I'm like, what? She asked like, so what did it actually change? Like,
mm,
and so I could tell her something. So I said, like, imagine, so I'm just a traveler in this world. Everything I do, it's there's a final destination. I'm here for some time. So everything that happens in this life, I take as, whether it happens good or bad, it's what it is. Like, I'm not here to stay forever. There's something else I'm working towards. So that's my whole perspective now. Maybe that kind of helped her realize, like, oh, okay, so now you don't take things personally. You don't stress about things of the
yeah.
dunya or whatever. Yeah, like what's the point? Like, I'm only working for the hereafter. If you want to know about that, I can share it. But
Not
you know,
not to say you can't enjoy aspects of the dunya.
yeah,
You know that if you're successful, why shouldn't you have a nice house? Why shouldn't you have a nice car?
yeah,
But
you
it's
can
not.
enjoy everything
You can
in a
enjoy
halal
that,
way. You can
but
enjoy everything.
but you've also got to remember, you know, where we're heading. Always remember you've done some really good video. You were walking through this ancient Czech graveyard,
Oh yeah,
sort of. Do you remember? And that's, you know, these people have had this, you know, and the look is, you know, they're as dead can be, and you know, and what hopes did they have? You know, what did
yeah,
they, you know, it just. And now it's no wonder that Elon Musk and the rest of them, Bezos, are trying to get the elixir of life, you know, to extend their lives. Could you imagine Jeff Bezos
yeah.
being here in 500 years' time? You know, it's a terrible thought. Um,
Yeah, the,
and
the the graveyard is a good thing, because I used to when I lived in Italy, I went to catacombs, which are like
oh
full of
yes,
dead
yeah, you know,
dead
yeah,
people.
Yeah.
And it was just this feeling of like these people actually lived, but look at them now, no one
Yeah.
cares, like thousands of dead
Yeah,
bodies.
and we're going to be the same. We're
Yeah,
all we are is tomorrow's dead people.
yeah, so just you have to come to grips with that reality and then realize like, okay, what
I mean,
now? You know?
I used to think that, you know, during my atheistic time, that you know, we're on this voyage, uncertain voyage. We don't know the really important things, you know, you know, where we came from,
Mm,
what have you. And I thought, well, you've got to produce your own light. You know,
yeah,
no matter how dark the darkness is, no matter how large the abyss of space is,
yeah,
you've got to produce our own light. But in that sense, we are. You know, looking at the way you are now, and there was a video you did a year ago when you were wandering around a church, and just the physical change. I mean, you look so much healthier, so much younger than you
nice.
did, and it's obvious why. You know, you're not putting alcohol and other
Yeah.
into poisons into your system. Um, so,
Well, Phil, thank you
oh,
so much
sorry.
for this. But there's I see another person in the
All
chat,
right.
so
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
just
I've
wanna
been
let them
rambling
in.
on for far too long.
No, it
So,
was good. I'm happy we got a chance to talk.
yeah,
So
yeah,
hopefully we'll
thank
catch up soon, and
you. Yeah,
inshallah.
we'll
And
see.
yeah, enjoy. Thank you for the support. I know you've been watching me for a while, so
Mm-hmm.
thank you for
Not,
that.
not at all, John. Yeah, yeah. Greetings and yeah, best of luck.
Yeah,
Inshallah.
you too. Salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
All right. So now, hey Rob.
Hey, assalamu alaikum. Jan or
Alaikum
John? Is it
salam. It's Jan. Yeah.
Jan? Okay. It's good to finally meet you. Sorry about not getting in touch with you beforehand. But alhamdulillah,
It's
how are
fine.
things? Good?
Good, good. So, are you from the U.S. or
I'm from Canada. I converted to
Canada?
Islam in 2003. I've been Muslim
Oh,
for
really? Okay.
18 years.
Mashallah. That's nice.
Yeah, a very long time. And yeah, so here I am, and I made it. So
Nice.
I think my perspective is a bit different on how do we give dawah to people, just
Mm-hmm.
because I've been in the game for so long. Usually, for people who've been Muslim as long as I have, it's either one of two extremes. Well, usually they're extremely bitter. Other times their head is up in the clouds. I think I've tried to stay on the middle path in that regard. So I try to look at
Mm-hmm.
things realistically, and see where we are in the world today, and how the Muslim community can improve. Giving the message of Islam in the West specifically. I'm currently the front man for Islam for Europeans.
Nice.
So my ideas are a bit, I guess you could say, unorthodox, but still within Islamic orthodoxy, if I guess you can put it that way.
So, what sort of things have you been doing in terms of dawah? Maybe that could be helpful. I don't know. Or maybe what? Why did you convert? I don't know. If it might take a long time. I only have a few
That's fine.
minutes, so
I converted. I studied Islam on my own. This
Mm.
was after 9/11, so Islam was big in the media. Um, I was a very inquisitive person. I was still living with my parents. And I just,
Mhm.
one day at night, I just started, wanted to research Islam on my own. I typed up Islam on Google, and the first website I went to talked about all the scientific miracles in the Holy Quran.
Mhm.
And I was hooked. I'm like, this is impossible. There's no way a human being could write a book like this, about how the fetus develops in the unborn, in the mother's womb, and how the Dead Sea is like the lowest point on earth, and all the different mathematical miracles of the Quran as
Mhm.
well. So that was a huge part of it. Also the simplicity of the prayer. The monotheistic belief, the Unitarianism, the unity of God. All those things factored into me converting to Islam. So.
Nice, nice. Do you have any specific question for me that maybe I can answer? If you, or do you?
Would you be willing if we had like an actual interview, like like a formal time, and we can have like an interview like this? If you want to just bounce off ideas and everything, because like you said, I mean, I think that, we have a lot to offer us converts. I mean, how long have you been Muslim, Jan?
Oh, it's been a year exactly, something like that.
Alhamdulillah. That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, we've seen a lot. I'm talking we in terms of like converts have been around for many, many years. Like a lot of us, we have solutions for a lot of these problems, especially, in Europe proper and also in the European diaspora. It's just getting those messages across. And just providing our food for thought. But if you're willing to, I like if we can just come on, or if you can come on my show, or if I can come on your show, I'd be like more than willing to do like an interview.
Okay, so you have a channel on
Yep.
everything. Okay.
Yeah, I have about 830 subscribers. It's called Islam for Europeans. Islam, the number 4, Europeans. We talk about several things. A lot of it is we've had videos on dispelling myths and misconceptions about controversial topics in Islam, like FGM and apostasy, and like honor killings and all these stuff that you see on the media. Also, we've done interviews, with people in the Muslim community for a long time from all walks of life. So I have, I'm in good contact with a good African Canadian brother whose name is Bilal, and we've done several videos together. So it's
sounds
we do a
good.
variety of things.
Maybe I can go on your channel and we can chat about this for sure. Besides this, do you have any question for me? Anything you'd like to ask, or?
I would say like when you converted, because you're in Slovakia or Czech Republic.
Both. Like I live in Czech Republic, but I'm from Slovakia, so kind of
I
spend time in both countries.
Yeah, like from what I see, there's obviously a lot of anti-Islam sentiment, especially in Eastern Europe, but also there is this kind of sentiment in within Europe itself that Islam would solve a lot of the issues that they're facing, nihilism and liberalism and alcoholism and things like that. So I mean, what's been the reaction from like your inner circles, from the people you're around? Is it been like a mixture? What's been the reaction? Like what's your finger on the pulse in the Czech Republic?
I mean, from people who know that I became a Muslim, it's nothing that I can actually. I don't have any insights on that because everybody has been nice about it. So I don't know. There's, in terms of the pulse on the country level, well, there's for sure it's negative, and that's an I think oversimplification. So it's there's been many police raids in mosques and stuff like that. Some people are on the watch lists, and it's just kind of crazy. So not ideal place, but it's getting better. There's more converts, thousands actually, so it's good.
Have the converts there ever thought of creating their own organization?
We do have 4 organizations, but they all kind of have their own idea or whatever, and they don't kind of collaborate. And there's no vision, there's no nothing like that, because they are run by these immigrants, so they don't really have like a stake in having local converts to do anything, right? So as a local convert, there's zero dawah. Yeah. So as a local convert, it's actually like it's me, couple of people I know who are like really trying to figure out like, okay, let's do something here, because these people, they are good, but they don't really care about us. Like we need to build our own identity as like a Slovak Muslim. That doesn't. What is that like?
And that's exactly
new thing, right?
That's exactly what we're advocating for. In fact, this is well established in the Islamic tradition. I'm sure you're aware of the Islamic concept of urf. Have you ever heard of the concept of urf?
Urf, no. What is that?
Yeah, so urf is a concept in Islamic law, in that basically referring to the customs of the people that have no basically religious valence. So they're not like on a religious basis, but they're basically the customs or the culture of the people. So when it comes to cultural matters, it is actually haram, or a form of oppression, to force a different culture on the people's on the converts of the people. When it comes to religious matters, you can't change, the ahkam of Allah, like, how many times you pray per day, the method of prayer, fasting during Ramadan. These are all concrete. But when it comes to the culture of the people, ideally what should happen is that from the people who do convert to Islam, they should keep everything in their culture, but it's just be modified to conform to the Sharia. And this is what we saw historically. For example, in Greece, on the island of Crete, Crete used to be 50% Christian and 50% Muslim. I don't know if you knew this, but and then when people visited Crete during that time, they could not tell any difference between the Christians and Muslims in that area. The clothes, they wore the same clothing. The cuisine was the same. They all spoke Greek. They all the Cretan Muslims there, they married each other. And even when the Ottoman Empire had to give any type of message to Crete, to the Muslims in Crete, it would have to be translated into Greek.
Yeah.
So, this is what we see throughout the Muslim world. And when we look outside the Anglosphere and we go into South Africa or any part in the world, whenever the converts of that group have collectivized, created their own culture, and modified their dress, but kept to make it conform to Islamic norms, it's been far more successful than what they're trying currently in the West. For example, the Zulu Muslims, for the longest time, as you know, the Muslim community in South Africa is almost entirely South Asian. So the Zulus had a very tough time. They had a very tough time giving Dawah to Zulus. At first, they didn't give any Dawah to them. But for those African tribes like the Zulu and the Xhosa, they're like, well, we don't want to wear South Asian clothing. We don't like spicy food. We don't want to be burned after we die, because they had this misconception in their head that, they were from the South Asian subcontinent, so they would cremate their bodies, which is untrue. But after, I've been in talks with a good friend of mine who's a sheikh. His name is Ismail Kamdar. He's from South Africa, and he's been doing a lot of Dawah work there. And he said that once we, had this, game plan where we allowed the Zulus to create their own cultural space, we still interacted with them. They still were an integral part of the greater Muslim community, but they had an opportunity to create this own Zulu Muslim culture. And then you saw the Zulus actually convert to Islam en masse.
Yeah. By the way, I will have to jump off because I've been for 1 hour and 12 minutes, so I have to leave. But we can pick up on this, I think, on your podcast. If you want, you can email me in the YouTube about page. You can find my email, and we can organize something. But I will have to leave, so sorry for cutting you off on that. But yeah, it's something we are looking into, and it is definitely interesting to learn from your experience.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are on the right track. But we can provide any guidance we can, because we have a lot of expertise in this field. So inshallah, Islam will be successful. I think you guys just need the kind of like the know-how. But yes, I will email you on, and let's keep in touch. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Rob.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum. Alaikum salam. All right, guys. Well, thank you for the stream. It was very successful. By the way, I saw some questions. What's this? It's not getting better. It's getting worse. I just said it, but I live in the EU. I've been called for no reason, they say. I'm not sure what that means. Are you talking about the police or what? Regarding the marital sex, the answer is simple. Just get married sooner. So get married at 16. If you feel the biological need to procreate, well, in Islam, this is very difficult, right? So you need to get married. So do the nikah. And I think having early marriage, like at 17, 18, it's a good idea to not fall into haram relationships. Because this doesn't make any sense that you would allow premarital sex without the marriage. Then what about the children of that premarital sex, which will happen? What about the spiritual damage? What about the zina aspect, which is prohibited in Islam? So this is clearly not correct. If you're from conservative, you should even have to wait until you're 30. No, this is not true. Maybe from your culture, but you can get married at 18. No problems. I'll set you up, boy. Yes, Phil was great. I'm from India, culturally Muslim, but I'm having doubts. Tell me what doubts. I'll clear them up. Premarital sex, yes, in Europe, because we don't have any God, there's premarital sex all over the place, but that's kind of what it is. If you don't have any more, Assalamu alaikum, can you first mosque experience? All right, last point, first mosque experience. Very scary. Well, first mosque, I was alone, so that was really nice. But when I went to the mosque, which was full of Muslims, very scary. Wanted to leave, but I always have this idea of like overcoming challenges. So I went, I spent time, and it was amazing. But very scary experience, especially looking at the Arabs with the beards and the thobes and all that. Not a good experience for a new Muslim. Anyways, guys, salam alaikum. Thank you for the stream. It was amazing. And we shall meet again next week, inshallah. So let's see what happens. This week is gonna be good content, and I'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum, guys.